Welcome back to the Champion Mindset Podcast, a place where we ignite your passion, turbocharge your success, and transform your thinking. I'm your host, Anthony Dahya, and today we're diving into a game-changing topic, the battle between the fixed and a growth mindset. All right, let's kick into this. So picture this, there's two people, the same background, same skills, facing the same challenges. Now one thrives and soars to new heights, and the other stumbles and watches opportunities slip away. So what's the difference? It's not their talent, it's not luck. It's something far more powerful. It's the mindset. And not just any mindset, but whether it's a growth or a fixed mindset, the concept brilliantly researched by Stanford psychologist Dr Carol Dweck. So let's define the mindset. The mindset shapes our everyday lives. It influences our decisions we make, the relationships we build, and the goals we reach. Dr. Dweck's groundbreaking work has shown that fixed mindset, the belief that our qualities are carved into stone, and it can hold us back from learning and growing. It's like being in a mental cage. Now imagine stepping out of the cage into a world of possibilities with the growth mindset, which is the understanding that abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Isn't that liberating? So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of a fixed versus a growth mindset. So with a fixed mindset, challenges are threats, and effort becomes a nuisance. And criticism? Well, that's the enemy. But let's flip it around. The growth mindset and the challenges become opportunities. Effort is the path to mastery, and criticism, well, that's your coach. And it's not just fluffy talk that Dr. Dweck's research showed, that his students with a growth mindset actually achieved more, and better yet, they bounced back faster from failures. Now, why is that? Because they believe they can improve. And it gets better. When we adopt a growth mindset, our brains light up with the activity forging new connections, and it literally makes us smarter. So every time you push out of your comfort zone, you're not just learning a new skill, you're growing your brain. It's like a muscle, and every challenge is a dumbbell. So are you ready to hit the mental gym? Okay, I can hear you asking me, how do I switch from a fixed to a growth mindset? Well, that's a great question. Well, step one is listen to your inner dialogue. What are the words you're saying to yourself? What do you speak out? When you face a setback, do you say, I'm not good at this? Or do you say, I'm not good at this yet? That little word yet packs such a punch of growth mindset power. Step two, embrace the challenges. When you stumble, when you fall fast, fall as often as you can. And instead of throwing the towel in, ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? Step three, praise is the process. Instead of saying, I'm a natural, say, I work hard for this. And that's just the start. Now, none of us are born geniuses. And I know people say that, hey, that person's a, born genius. But the reality is that everyone has had to learn what they know. Here's a little personal story about me. So in my last podcast, I mentioned that at the age of 7, I got sent to India to an ashram, which was cross between army and prison. It was quite a regimented school. And I wasn't very good at school stuff. And I got moved, after I left the boarding school, I got moved from one school to another school. And it kind of felt like it stuffed up my education. And then when I came back to New Zealand and went to high school, I remember I wasn't good through third form, fourth form, and fifth form. I did school certificate twice and I failed miserably. But one thing I knew is that I was good at anything I applied myself to. So when I left school and I started working, I was really good at what I did. And I just built strength to strength to strength. Now, to this day, I have never done any courses, any study up until the time I started to study to become a life coach. And everything I've done is through having a growth mindset. Now, I didn't always have a growth mindset, but you see, as time went on and I started to believe in myself by doing things and achieving things that weren't academic, but I knew that I could do things with my hands and I could, I was making milk bottles, I was printing plastic bottles and so on. I was working as a storeman. I was doing all these different jobs and I worked my way up to where I am today. And I spent 30 odd years in technology and just worked my way up without any qualifications. And I was able to do everything else, everything that everyone else was doing. And I remember this really, um, this amazing story. So when I was about 25, 26, I was working for Telstra Saturn, which was a telephone and cable TV company in Wellington. And I became a draftsman and I was doing drafting work for designers who were building or designing the cable TV and telephone network. And I really wanted to do that. Now, all of those guys that were doing that work had engineering degrees. I had nothing. And you know what? When the lady that I was working with, who was my team leader, she said, "No, you won't be able to do that. You can't do that. You'll never be able to do that." And I said, "Let me show you." So I went up to the boss and I said, "John, give me an opportunity and I can show you that I can do exactly what those guys are doing without an engineering degree." And you know what? I convinced him and he gave me the opportunity. And I ended up designing the Christchurch build of the cable TV and telephone network. And so every time I did something like that, I became more and more confident. And that really was when I started to build that growth mindset. And building a growth mindset is not something you get overnight. It's something that you do and you make it your lifestyle. You see, people say, "Oh, I've tried to think positive, but it doesn't work." It's like going to a gym for one day, doing a few weights, and expecting the result of getting muscles and toning up. Anyone that goes to the gym and works out knows that it's a continuous, you got to make it your lifestyle. And so a growth mindset, so moving from a fixed to a growth mindset is a continuous lifestyle where you're continually exercising that muscle in your brain, where every time something comes up, instead of defaulting to, "I can't do that, I'm useless," to, "Hey, I can't do that yet, but I'm going to give it a go." You see, fixed mindset people avoid challenges for ease, whereas the growth mindset embrace challenges to learn. Fixed mindset, they give up early, whereas growth mindset persists through setbacks. Fixed mindset values talent over effort, whereas growth mindset thrives on effort. Fixed mindset resists feedback. Growth mindset seeks feedback. And lastly, unrealistic goals and plans for the fixed mindset, and future orientated and result driven for the growth mindset. You see, I've also, in the last few years, I could not take feedback. I would take it defensively. And anyone that's worked with me that's listening to this podcast, you'll be laughing or smirking at this and going, "Yep, that's right." And Since I've been doing this coaching journey, tell you what, it's like all of a sudden, I can't wait to get feedback. And my coach, Mr. Matt Lavaz, amazing Matt Lavaz and Andy Anderson, these guys give me feedback on a daily basis. And you know what? I just lap it up because I'm like, teach me. I want to learn. What have I done wrong? Okay, what can I do better? And so, it's for me, it's a constant feedback loop that allows me to learn and do things better. Because if you want to become better, you have to be able to fail. You have to be able to fail fast and fail often and learn from those mistakes. Another thing I want to say, years ago when I was working for a plastics company, one of my managers said to me, Anthony, do you know what mistakes are? And I said, oh, it's a bad thing. And he says, no, it's not. He said, when you make a movie and you have a lot of mistakes, but eventually the right take makes that multi-million-dollar movie. So I want to encourage you. Every time you make a mistake or you fail, don't see it as with a fixed mindset. Flip it over to the growth mindset and say, what can I learn from this? And what can I do better? Because failure it's not a bad thing. Feedback, it's feedback. Failure is feedback. It's giving you some information that you can take and learn from. Welcome back. Here's 5 examples of someone with a growth mindset might approach the situation differently than someone with a fixed mindset. So learning a new skill, a growth mindset person would say, I may not know how to do this yet, but I can learn with practice and effort. With a fixed mindset, I'm just not good at this. I'll never be able to learn it. Here's another one, receiving feedback. Growth mindset would say, this feedback will help me improve and get better. The fixed mindset person would say, this feedback is just criticism and I can't do anything about it. Now, when you're facing a challenge, the growth mindset person would say, this is difficult, but I can use my skills and knowledge to overcome it. Fixed mindset, on the other hand, would say, the challenge is too hard and I'm not even going to try. How would you deal with failure? So a growth mindset person would say, I didn't succeed this time, but I can learn from my mistakes and I'm going to try again. Whereas a fixed mindset would say, I failed, so I must not be good enough and I'm never going to be able to do this. And lastly, reacting to the success of other people. Now, this is, in New Zealand and Australia, we have this tall poppy syndrome where when someone succeeds, we tend to, tear them down or look at them with jealousy and stuff like that. And that's not a good thing. So with a growth mindset, someone would say, I'm happy for their success and I'm inspired to work harder to achieve my own goals. Whereas a fixed mindset person would say, well, their success makes me feel inferior and threatened, and I'm never going to be able to do it as good as them. Remember, everyone, this is not a competition. It's not about comparing yourself to the next person. It's about learning from each other. It's about helping each other. It's about championing each other. Now, here's some ways that you can develop a growth mindset, and especially people who are in management or leadership, enabling transformation. Here's some steps that you can take. Acknowledge your current mindset. Start by recognizing what your current mindset is doing. Are you coming from a fixed or are you coming from a growth mindset? Check yourself. Be aware. Self-awareness is the first step. Secondly, embrace challenges. When we embrace challenges as opportunities and learn to grow, instead of pushing them away, They help us because what happens is that we get a chance to develop new strategies and skills. Also, view failure as feedback. Shift your perspective of it. And rather than seeing as a reflection of you being inadequate, view it as feedback that helps you to improve. Analyze what's gone wrong. What can I learn from this? And how can I adjust accordingly? Practice self-compassion. It's really important to be kind to yourself. Developing a growth mindset doesn't mean that you're always going to be able to do things the right way. Treat yourself with the same understanding and compassion that you would with other people. Be patient with yourself. Stay committed on your journey, and remember that personal growth is a continuous process. And lastly, reflect, and you can journal regularly. Reflect on your experiences, your challenges, your achievements. Consider keeping a journal or a document or something where you can write down your progress and your insights and areas where you want to improve. Because writing these things down enhances our self-awareness. And one other thing I'd like to encourage you to do is really celebrate your successes. Every time you do something, celebrate it. Do something small, celebrate it. Because the more you celebrate yourself, the more you're going to be able to grow that growth mindset and be the person that you want to become. And please be authentic, be your true self. Don't try and be someone that you're not. All right, you champions, it's time to put this into action. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to catch yourself when you fall into the fixed mindset trap and flip that switch. Practice this for a week and share your experiences with me and the group on the Champion Mindset Collective group on Facebook. Let's build a community that thrives on growth. Well, that's a wrap for today's mind-expanding journey. A huge thanks to everyone who's listened to this podcast today and for believing in the power of growth. Now remember to hit the subscribe button or the follow button so you never miss an episode of the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and remember, your mindset is the master of your destiny. And please share this podcast and episode with your family, your friends, your workmates, anyone who would benefit from listening to this. And I thank you. Keep being amazing and be kind to yourself and others. Thank you very much for listening.